to order. Please let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Okay. So have we been properly noticed?
The meeting has been properly noticed. The agenda was posted at the Town Hall, the Cambridge Post Office, and Herring's Lake Ripley Inn, as well as the Oakland website.
Thank you. Let's move on to number 3, public comment. Is there anybody that would like to come up for public comment? Okay. Come on up, Jenna.
So my public comment is a little bit lengthier than normal. I've asked permission to extend in my public comment period, but because of the length of it, I've also provided each of you a copy of my comment so you can refer to it or make notes on it as you wish. And if Susan, you could please make that a part of the minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Jana, it will be part of the August 20th meeting minutes, but that won't be posted until after the minutes are approved in September.
Okay.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jana Evans. I'm a taxpayer of the town of Oakland. As a taxpayer of the community, I feel obligated to share my continued concerns with you and the town of Oakland residents regarding the state of the Fire Commission and emergency services. For months, I have been sharing public comment at your meetings regarding the finances of the Fire Commission. I have shared my concerns about the proposed Lake Mills contract and that no cost analysis was completed, and I presented calculations to you reflecting how much it would cost all of us taxpayers, although we were all assured that it would be self-sufficient. I shared that an unauthorized contract was signed for the town of Lake Mills by the EMS director. I have shared with you that all reserve money has been spent with no authority from the Fire Commission or municipalities as required for the IGA. The amount is over $500,000 and was in various reserve accounts as reported to the Fire Commission in financial reports dated May of 22. I have repeatedly shared, based on my calculations, the Fire Commission would be out of money by the end of the year. I have also viewed and attended the Town of Lake Mills meetings. Most recently, a constituent in public comment expressed concerns and questions about EMS coverage for the Town of Lake Mills residents, and she was told by Dave Schrader the Cambridge EMS station in Lake Mills is covered 24/7, when in fact the EMS station is only staffed between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., at times not even those times frames. Why would he misinform his constituents? It was also stated that there is an employee from the Cambridge EMS that has a pickup truck approved by the state of Wisconsin that serves as a first responder vehicle. I have knowledge that that employee being referred to has been fired within the last 2 weeks. In fact, between May of 22 and the end of 23, there have been 14 employees that have left or been dismissed from the Cambridge EMS. That number does not include those from 2024. Through an open records request, I have obtained payroll records for the Cambridge EMS. As of May 28th, payroll and benefits total $457,891 for the Cambridge EMS. This will put the Fire Commission on track for total payroll and benefits to the Cambridge EMS to be $1,082,288 by the end of this year. The budgeted amount for 2023, which is the budget the Fire Commission is operating under, is $784,000, which is a shortfall of $298,288. This should not be a shock, as it has been told to the Fire Commission for months by Sheila, who was the former Fire Commission treasurer, that the payroll for Cambridge EMS is out of control, along with other numerous expenses that are a result of unauthorized spending. I do realize that the scheduling for EMS staff does require some type of overtime to be paid to the employees. The now hiring ad for Cambridge EMS reflects overtime pay after 40 hours a week with a work-to-life balance. My research shows that they operate on a 56-hour per week basis. However, with the reported roster by the Cambridge EMS director of 34 employees, I find it hard to believe with a proper staffing model, why would we have to pay $113,850 in overtime from January 1st of 24 through May 28th of 24. I will provide an example. One employee who is a basic EMT, not even a paramedic, and we are a paramedic service, logged 758.25 hours in overtime from January 1st, 24 through May 28th of 24, which amounts to $20,882 in overtime pay. This is more than the employee's base pay of $15,716 during the same time frame. That means this one employee was working an average of 74.82 hours a week. When overtime was questioned earlier in the year, there were numerous short-term reasons provided by the EMS director as to why there was so much overtime needed. If that is the case, why do payroll records reveal total overtime paid for the year of 2023 of $239,917? It was also noted that the last Fire Commission meeting, that a meeting was held with Dave Schrader, Alicia Hines, Mark Cook, and attorneys, and 3 plans were discussed, A, B, or C. Mark Cook is no longer on the commission. Is this an attempt to avoid a legal quorum? No notice was posted for this meeting. At the same Fire Commission meeting, Dave Smithback noted that Plan C was to dissolve and everyone goes their separate ways. How does he know this? If he was at the meeting, this was a legal quorum and is an open meeting violation. It appears that Mark Cook is still running the show. How many other meetings have there been when no posting of the meeting or knowledge of meetings were made public? Is this the new loophole? It is known that last week a line of credit was established and drawn on for the Fire Commission because they are out of money and had to pay Cambridge EMS payroll for August 16th pay period. I do not believe there was a Fire Commission meeting posted, nor an agenda or minutes of a meeting to discuss and approve a line of credit. In addition, this would also require approval from all 5 municipalities per the IGA. This should not be considered an emergency per the IGA, as the information regarding payroll and over-budget spending has been shared with the Fire Commission for months. There have been numerous requests beginning back in December of 2023 to work on and get an approved budget for 2024, with no attempt from the Fire Commission as a whole to resolve the non-approved budget for 2024. Who requested and assigned the line of credit? How much is the line of credit established for? What is the rate of interest? What was used as collateral? How will it get paid back when the current financial obligations can't even be paid? How do you control additional unauthorized spending that can occur because another pocket of money is now available? It was said it was needed because Cambridge and Oakland have not paid their third quarter dues. Those dues are not required to be paid until September 1st. The total income from the 2 municipalities will be $176,048. Out of those funds, the line of credit will need to be reimbursed, and there are still 3 pay periods left in the third quarter. Quick math shows that conservatively, based on the open records information above, at $35,000 a pay period, that is $140,000. The Cambridge Volunteer Fire Department has not been paid their third quarter payment of $22,000. As the Fire Commission said at the last meeting, they had to wait for Cambridge and Oakland to pay their third quarter payment. With just those 2 items, that leaves approximately $14,000 to cover any additional past due bills and current bills for the balance of the third quarter. It was reported at the last Fire Commission meeting there are past due invoices totaling $25,000 from months ago that need to be addressed, in addition to current past due invoices still coming in and normal monthly expenditures. Unfortunately, some of these past due invoices are for local vendors, such as the Piggly Wiggly. What type of message does this send to business owners that are responsible with their finances? How embarrassing. it is clear there will be no residual money to carry over from the third quarter to the fourth quarter. What will happen next quarter, the fourth quarter, when there will be 6 Cambridge EMS payroll periods at $35,000 each? That will total approximately $210,000. The Cambridge Volunteer Fire Department fourth quarter payment of $22,000 will need to be paid. In addition, there's an annual house payment due in the amount of $21,654 on October 14th, and a fourth quarter ambulance payment due of $15,825. The total income from fourth quarter dues and the Lake Mills contract will be $263,932. This leaves a deficit of $5,547. So how will all other obligations and monthly bills get paid? After everything that has been brought out into the open since November of '22, there are still those within the organization of the Fire Commission, municipal boards, and emergency services that continue to ignore the IGA contract, continue unauthorized spending, refuse to address budgetary concerns, and are going rogue in the management of the Fire Commission and lack proper oversight of the Fire Commission finances. These individuals should be dismissed from their positions of authority. It is obvious that the Fire Commission is on the path of financial ruins. Like any of us, if we have a service that could potentially save money and the same result, why is there such resistance from the town of Christiana and the town of Lake Mills in getting quotes from Deer Grove and Ryan Brothers for EMS services? It costs nothing for the quote and could potentially save thousands of dollars. And in addition, the Fire Commission would not have the administrative responsibilities of the EMS. If things stay on the current path, the 2025 budget should include the shortfalls of the budgeting process from the last 2 years of approximately $400,000 each year. Reserves that were spent with no authority should be replaced in the amount of $500,000. Budgeting for reserves should be re-implemented for 2025. In 2022, it was budgeted for $4,168 a month, or $50,106 a year. In addition, the Cambridge EMS run income needs to be restated to a practical number. With all this said, the budgeted expense should reflect a minimum increase of $1 million. However, more practically and honestly, should it be increased by more? I, as a taxpayer, encourage our town leaders to continue to pursue alternatives to EMS services that would provide quality service at a lesser cost.
Thank you, Jana. It's
Thank
great
you.
information. Would anyone else like to speak?
Hi, Lynn Clipstein, town of Oakland, resident. First of all, I almost feel like we should just take a deep breath after all that. But that's all I've been hearing for the last, I don't know how long now, a year or so. And what concerns me is I've been going to the Fire Commission meetings. Sheila's been representing, but I'm not seeing anyone else there. And I understand you guys are volunteer and you're here, but we're in a crisis moment. And I wrote a letter to the editor. I shared it, and hopefully you guys were able to read it. And I think it shows that, financially speaking, there are some very concerning situations going on from back in 2022 till now. We were at a point where we had $1.1 million with funds and reserves, with the 300 and some thousand and 800 and some thousand in another fund. And then all of a sudden now, in April of 2024, we have loans out of 1.2 million. That's a flop of over $2 million. And now another line of credit. Is that above and beyond that? It's to a point right now where getting out is not the crisis. The crisis is stop the bleeding. How are people in these positions still able to supersede the IGA, which honestly at one of the meetings they referred to as, oh, that from 2018, oh, that piece of paper, oh, that thing. Let's do some napkin math. They made a decision on a position there where what they did was, well, if we just move this over to here and move this, that makes sense. Okay, but what about the shortfall of $200 and some thousand? So I'm just saying at this point right now, moving out of the IGA is one thing, but we've got to stop the bleed. And it's bleeding, and it's not, and I'm not talking about the service. God bless the paramedics and the EMS workers and that, and the firemen and the firewomen and all that, but I'm talking about right now, the spending is out of control, and it has been since I believe someone was fired back in 2022 as a bookkeeper, which all of a sudden, all the books kind of went awry, which is really interesting to me when we all put on paper. So I hope that takes into consideration when we stop the bleed now.
Excellent.
Ma'am, your letter was put in the board packet, so all the board members have a copy of your letter.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Would anyone else like to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you both for your comments and your hard work.
Could we do the swearing in right now?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot.
That's okay.
Okay, we're going to take a little bit of a deviation from the agenda so I can be sworn in.
Laura has completed all the paperwork previous to the meeting, but we just wanted to have her being sworn in as town chair in the public forum. So, Laura, raise your right hand. I, Laura Payne,
I, Laura Payne,
having been appointed to the office of town chair,
having been appointed to the office of the town chair,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of my office to the best of my ability.
and discharge the
The
duties of my office to the best of my ability, including following directions.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so we will move on then to the approval of minutes from July 16th and July 30th, 2024 town board meetings.
The meeting of July 30th was a joint meeting with the village.
And the 16th was just
Our
board.
regular
I'll make
board
a motion to approve the minutes from the July 16th, 2024 town board meeting.
I'll
second
it.
Okay. Any discussion? No, seeing none. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes from July 16th and July 30th, say aye. Aye.
We're just doing the 16th.
Oh, we're
We'll do
just
the-
doing the 16th?
Yeah, we'll do the 30th
I
now.
believe it's July 15th.
Still.
The police and the joint.
There is in correspondence, the July 15th meeting with the joint,
Police and Fire Committee?
yes,
Okay, and this is the other one.
this is the one for the 30th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So for clarification, we're
We've had a lot of meetings in the last couple of
couple
weeks.
minutes. So all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes from July 16th, which is the town board meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from July 30th?
Make
So
a
moved.
motion.
There's
Second,
a second?
a second for the July
July
30th.
30th.
Second, sure.
Okay, any discussion? Nope, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the July 30th, 2024 meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, let's move on to police chief's report. I got a call today from the police chief, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to come tonight. He had another meeting he had to attend, but he wanted everyone to know that Enbridge has donated a Chevy Traverse, mostly for the boat patrol, but it could be used for other situations as well. And Enbridge will be here for a ceremony at 1 o'clock tomorrow, right here in the town hall. I'll be there, the police chief will be there, and anyone else is welcome to attend as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. So thank you to Enbridge for their generous donation. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. So let's move on to the road supervisor's report. Jeff?
Good evening.
Good evening.
We'll get right to the topic of discussion for everybody is Park Road. I started a punch list that things that have to be addressed before, we do the final payment. There's a lot of issues that just keep popping up. Nothing really major, just we're gonna have to, they're gonna have to adjust here and there. The big problem seems to be drainage and trying to finish the landscaping. Every time we ask, I don't know if, I think we're just getting a runaround, or they honestly don't know either, the engineering firm. I think they're getting the same runaround. But with that being said, on the drainage situation, there is about approximately 130 feet of curb and gutter that's missing that we originally bid for the project. But looking at that, we should probably consider adding another 150 feet onto that, just to direct the water in a better spot. Right now, once they put this 130 feet in, we're gonna be directing water on a person's property that has no outlet. If they don't have a driveway culvert, so it's gonna run down into their yard. If we add the curb and gutter now and direct the water, we will be able to get half of that covered through the grant.
Right.
If we wait a year and see what the problem is, then we eat the whole cost.
Yep.
This
And
is
that's
all
on the
the
west
east side
side,
of the
right?
road, right?
West side.
It's on the west
Yeah.
side.
West side, right by, at the intersection of Ripley and Park.
Okay.
Yep. A little bit north, right?
Yes.
Just a little bit north.
Yep, a
They're
little bit
short, curb and gutter, we discovered it, and then, like you suggested, maybe extending it further, get it closer to the
Yep.
creek outlet.
And I was looking at it today, once the grass and everything will get established, there'll be, if we discharge it there, there'll be a nice filtration area before it gets into that creek. There'll be a nice, probably almost 200 feet. So, I highly recommend that we at least, think about doing this.
Yep.
So-
There's a few other things too, obviously, that you know about, so.
Yes.
That we're
I mean,
working on.
every project has little issues, but the stretch of road shouldn't have this many. And
So how do we get that done then? How do we add that to our,
Well,
the extra amount that's not in the contract? How do we add that?
well, that'll be an add-on, so it'll be a little bit different cost. We will contact, I've already talked to the engineer's helper.
And Ralph.
Ralph, and he's aware that we should probably, that we are really considering adding that.
Yep. There's a few other things too, that the catch basins, they're in question yet, I believe.
Yeah.
They got the cattle grates over top of them, which is bizarre, I've only seen that out west.
right.
And then the depth of the basins, we're questioning that also. So there's could be some major things that we're.
But you said that was in the contract.
That was in the contract.
is,
It does show in the drawings, the cattle grades. But I've talked to Jewel about it, and I'm going to talk to them again, because I think it needs to be switched. But I don't know how easily that can be done. But I will call Scott from Jewel, who's in charge, next week, because he's on vacation this week, and we will try to resolve the issue with the curb and gutter. We'll get the extra, see how much that's going to be, and get that done, as well as they'll have to do the other portion, because we've already,
I thought that was strange, that
Yes.
where they cut it off.
Yeah.
But
It didn't make any sense. I came back,
No.
looked at the plans, and went, something's missing here,
yeah,
you know.
it was clear when we went out that there was just too much sediment going right into somebody's garden, and
Yeah,
you know, we had flagged that as an issue that we would talk to them about.
Okay.
But we'll talk to them about getting the rest of the erosion control measures in place, all the landscape established. They do have quite a few things that they need to do, and they're aware of it. But we'll keep on top of them. We've both have communicated with Jewel as well as Leanna. She's also been doing that as well when issues arise because of the creek.
So as far as the mailboxes that had to be moved,
still
they
waiting on it.
still
Yeah.
cannot be put
I
back?
mean, if they quick can get out here and seed that, everybody would be a lot happier. I
Mhm.
mean,
Right, because they,
yeah.
yeah, they can't be put back right now, the way
Well, they
things
could,
are.
but then they gotta work around them, and
Right.
I don't really feel bad for the workers that would have to work around them, because they created this mess. I'm just worried that they might, not be so nice around the mailboxes,
Okay,
so.
all right.
Were they weren't out today. Were they out yesterday when you were out with
No, the only one
Ralph?
was out there was Ralph.
And nobody was there today?
No,
I'll call over there tomorrow then. Do you know when the next rain is forecasted?
there's a chance Friday night, but otherwise it looks dry for a while, but that changes all the time. So,
Let's see if we can get them back out there
Yeah.
before
And I
Friday.
know Scott himself was out that Friday they were paving,
Yes.
because all his guys were on vacation, so he had to oversee everything. And so he has an idea what the project looks like, so he's not just relying on his workers, so.
No. And I had talked to him that day when he was
Did
out
ya?
there.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So we had a couple of pretty frank discussions.
Oh, good.
So we will have more frank
We have
discussions.
lots of eyes on this project.
Yes. But the signs are not up yet.
No,
So it's my understanding that they can't open the road until the signs are?
correct, because there's no, direction or way to stop them.
No
But there,
s-
it's
no
all
speed
marked.
limit.
Yeah, there's no speed limit, no stop signs, no stop aheads.
And
They
the
got some nice, signage they're gonna put up. Instead of pedestrians, it's gonna show a bike and it says share the road. So, they've come up with some pretty nice signs that way, so.
But we're not doing the stop sign at Blue Jay, right?
No.
I know.
Was that a decision that was made by Jewel or?
We
Oh,
we
it was
decided
just-
in a
it was
meeting,
just a
we pretty
discussion.
much tabled it.
Well, it was talked about, instead of lowering the speed limit, that would slow people down, but I didn't approve of it, and I think it just,
We never, yeah, it just died.
No.
yeah, it wasn't a final
was-
decision.
no.
It would really be bad in the wintertime,
Right, coming over the hill,
yeah.
yeah.
They trimmed the hill a little bit,
Yeah, they did.
it looks like, so it looks like they trimmed that hill, so it's not, you can kind of see through it a little bit.
Right,
so
sightlines will be better.
fine.
Yeah, sight lines should be better and it's wider, so, I mean, you won't feel so cramped. Plus, it's opened up a little bit.
Okay, well, I'll call over there tomorrow and speak to Nathan or Ralph, whoever is available, and see if we can get somebody out there.
Yeah,
this
you know,
week.
I was doing the route of email, so there was a paper trail. They don't answer them,
No?
but they ain't answering phone calls either.
Oh,
Depends what kind of,
Okay.
you know.
Text
kind of
me.
day they're
Maybe they're
having?
on vacation. I don't, you know, it is that time of year.
I know Scott is.
Yeah.
But I'll call over there tomorrow. I think we need to try to get some more landscaping done before the end of the week.
Oh, yeah, because right now is we should be putting seed down,
Mhm.
because it's gonna establish the best.
Right.
And we should have the fire numbers need to
Yeah,
go
they
back
need
and
to be
trace
going back
too.
up too.
Mhm.
Hey, Melissa, we're getting a little feedback up here, is there any way you can adjust that?
That's not hers.
Oh, it's not? What
No,
is it?
that's ours.
Is there volume? I don't know how to
Here, let me
work the
look.
thing.
Something anything like maxed out on here, so it's gotta be some with those other mics.
Is there any, can you give us an update on Wolf Road?
Wolf Road, yes. We will be fixing the utility cuts. Just a matter of, I'm waiting on the rental return for the roller so we can get it. I called Monday and he said it'd be a day or two. He was hoping it'd be back. And since they're the most cost-effective one, I'm gonna stick with them.
Yep.
The other ones are a little more pricier and was gonna throw costs up, so.
So your plan is to get it done before the frost and,
Oh, yeah, my plan would be to have it done by the end of the week, but
Oh.
I'm just waiting on that rental, so it might not be until next week.
and then we'll bill the contractor or the owner?
We'll build the owner. That was a conversation I had with him, so.
Thank you.
And then you'll take care of the culvert on Scogan at the same
Yes,
time?
yes, we're picking up that culvert tomorrow.
Oh,
And
good.
it should be cleared, the locate should be cleared tomorrow afternoon,
oh, great,
so.
great. So there is a buried culvert on, below
On Scogan?
on
or-
Scogan,
yeah,
below a
yeah.
driveway.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's not functioning
functioning.
properly, of course, so we need to get that working properly, so that'll help with the runoff
Do you need
onto
to
Park.
replace it or just dig it out?
We're gonna dig it out and put a different one in, and we're hoping we can bring the old one back here and clean it out and use it for like a field driveway culvert down the road.
Good.
So,
Okay.
that's
Yep.
the hope anyway, but they don't always clean out very well when they're full of gravel, so.
Busy.
Gotta get a lot of things done before the snow flies.
Good
Coming
thing that
fast,
you've
huh?
got or two other people helping you now.
Yeah, it makes a lot of difference. We're getting a lot of things off our, my checklist. We took 2 more off today, so they tell me to stop adding things so our list can go down. I said, well, we take them off, we put them on.
Thanks for all your work.
Yep.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you.
thank you. Anything else or any questions? Okay,
Thank you.
well, thank you.
Have a good evening.
You
Thank
too.
you,
Thank you, you too.
Okay, let's move on to agenda item number 7, Fire Chief's report.
Joe Evans, Cambridge Fire Chief. Just a couple new things since the last meeting. Our call to date right now, our calls, there's 133 calls we've been on so far this year, so we're still on track for our, what we talked about before of 180 to 200 calls. Obviously, everybody's seen the mailers went out. We're getting a good return on those. And starting the new budget for 2025, doesn't look like really any change to that, so once I submit that, you guys have that to work with. Yeah, no significant calls in the town of Oakland, no structure fires or anything, so we've been pretty quiet. So, any questions for?
When you submit your budget for next year, is it gonna be in the same exact format as the previous years, or are you gonna start looking at some of these other things that we've been talking about?
It's just gonna be the same. It's, cause it's gonna be, this is what the fire department needs for their 2025 year budget. Is there gonna be a proposal that was asked at the, is that what you're asking? No, cause I don't have the authority to come up with a proposal. Fire department doesn't own the trucks, we don't own the equipment. We use fundraising stuff to buy our equipment, and all the municipalities buy our equipment. I don't have the authority to make a proposal and say, and this is what I'm gonna have the 35 membership do. I mean,
Well, I mean, like, the loan on a piece of equipment or anything, none of that is reflected in your budget, I guess is what I'm
no,
trying to
that's
say.
all
No.
commission stuff, or that.
But I have that stuff, Jim, and I will get it to everybody.
Your budget will look the same as it did last year,
Yes.
essentially.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
then for the equipment, so for the EMS Fire Commission budget, is that just separate? Do you have the EMS budget, the fire budget, and then the equipment and the building are just separate?
Yes, yes. So when I say the fire department budget, the big one is our payroll,
Right.
which we get $13 a call. So it's, when I say we're on track for 180 to 200 calls a year, that's gonna come out to be about $66,000 for payroll for the 33 member of, that's how many people we have on the fire department. And at the last commission meeting, I submitted that, our roster to date, that reflects that roster. And with that being said, we have 2 new firefighters that are gonna be starting classes next week, end of the month? 27th. And, yeah, so we're still right around that 33. The low point was like 27, but now we've gained firefighters and young firefighters at that, so,
Good. Good.
yeah,
That's
both are
great.
18 years old, and
Oh, that's nice.
so they seeked us out and filled out an application, and they'll be starting school,
That's excellent.
Yeah, that's excellent news.
yeah. Always have an assistant chief here to make sure I don't forget nothing. I didn't forget nothing today. Anybody have any questions?
You know what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, great. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Joe.
Thank you.
It's, I called down there and the chassis still en route, so.
Hi,
Hello?
Bruce Peterson, the fire chief in Fort. First of all, I'm sorry you haven't made many meetings. It's a busy Tuesday for us. We have our council meetings on Tuesday and often have to present to that. We also have our training on Tuesday, so I was able to sneak away and be able to come in and say hi. I've submitted my monthly report to you, and I trust you're all getting that. So I can answer questions on that if you have any. Just a couple big picture overviews. We have 2 new employees since we were here last. One's a medic and one is going to medic school next year. So they're both coming along very nicely. We're expecting our light rescue truck from Pierce to be done sometime in September. We'll be sending a couple of guys down to Florida to take a look at it and make sure it's built to our specs before we take delivery. And I think I also talked about our ISO application that we did, I think, 2 months ago, which is our insurance rating. We're at a rating of 3 now. We're hoping to get to a 2. I'm not sure we'll get there this time, but we're still awaiting the results of that. And it'll bring us into pretty elite company if we can get down to a 2 this year. If not, we'll know what we need to work on budget-wise and training and documentation-wise for our next one. So other than that, we're also working on our budget. I have a presentation tomorrow with the city manager, and hopefully we'll work through that without any issues. So other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
You guys are an all full-time department?
Well, we're a combination department. We have 15 full-time,
Okay.
and we have 25 part-time,
Okay.
plus myself.
And you're a sole department, right? Just Fort Atkinson? Or are you,
Yeah, well, we cover the city of Fort Atkinson, and then parts of 5 townships.
parts of 5, well, one being,
Yep, you folks, Kashkan, did I say that right?
Kashkanan.
I struggle with that.
Kashkanan.
Hebron, Jefferson, and.
Sumner? Sumner, I
Yep,
think, yeah.
and then you just do contracts with them?
yes.
No IGA, just
Nope, we have a contract with
through-
each one, right.
And how's
Which
that
will be
work?
come and due with everybody this time, probably next year.
How's that working for you?
It's been fine, yeah. We haven't had any issues. I try to go to most of the meetings, I think our communications helped. So, yeah, it's embarrassingly fine, I think.
That's a very good thing.
Yeah.
And they provide fire and EMS service.
Right.
Yeah, fire and EMS, we have a small portion in Hebron that we're EMS only, but it's a very small area.
Yes.
Are they union or either on the fire or EMS side?
So our fire and EMS are the same. All of our full-time firefighters are EMS also. They voted to unionize, actually right when I got there, it was kind of in the works. So we are starting negotiations about 2 or 3 weeks. We'll be starting negotiations, hopefully finish that up by the first of the year, so.
Do you anticipate any major changes in the budget for next year?
Because of the negotiations?
Negotiations or equipment purchases or whatever?
Not really. I've deferred some of our equipment purchases for another year. We're looking at adding 3 more staff, so 1 more per shift. I'm not sure we'll get that done this year, but there comes a tipping point with overtime, obviously, that it's cheaper to hire people than continue with the high overtime.
Sure.
What does your overtime look like? You've heard perhaps some numbers that have been presented tonight on the massive amount of overtime that's occurring in the current EMS. So how is that with, is that why you're hiring other people? What can you tell us about that?
I can't comment on Cambridge. I don't know the details of them. Our staffing model is we have 15 firefighters with EMS people. They're both cross-trained. So we have 5 on a shift, but our minimum is 5 on a shift. So if somebody takes a day off, we have to hire back for them. We do have some part-time staff that'll fill in, but roughly costs the same to bring them in. So we kind of have built-in overtime. Our projections and our budget were pretty close. Really, the only thing that really will throw a wrench into that is somebody gets hurt and is off for a little bit of time. Other than that, we are able to project out our overtime pretty well.
What's your calls, how many calls have been on this year?
We'll probably for the year do about 2,300 calls.
There was supposed to be some legislation in the works about some of the assisted living places being able to, there was going to be a law that was passed that with some training, they wouldn't have to keep calling if someone slips out of a chair and the staff can't, put them back in the chair again.
Yeah, that's an issue for all departments. The high call volume and resources that the assisted living takes from us is an issue we're dealing with across the state. And we're looking at that closely of how we can educate them and help them deal with that rather than constantly calling us for assistance. And that's what happens. We go there quite a bit to lift people up and non-emergent transports, and it's a drain on resources. So we're looking at ways to maybe recoup some of those finances that it's costing us.
I'm glad you mentioned planned overtime. I did notice in Fitchburg, when they do their budget, they have a category for planned overtime and then unplanned overtime. And I was going to bring that up for our budgeting process so that we can classify that. And I think it'll help give us a better picture of what type of a staffing model do you work on, like 24?
So we're basically 24/48, but we do a 48/96. So,
Okay.
So they do 2 days on and 4 days off, which
Okay.
is they really like it. The staff really likes it. Gives them some more home time.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our guys live in Fort or very close to Fort and come back for all calls quite a bit and come back for training. So it's, but that scheduling model is becoming more and more popular with firefighters.
And that has built-in 16 hours of overtime then, a pay period?
Yeah, we'll give them some, it's built in.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of their negotiations, how that'll play out, if it'll be built in overtime or there's a work reduction day, which is called a Kelly Day, that we may enter into. I'm not sure which way that'll end up going.
Okay.
Thank you.
We may be tapping into your knowledge in your future. You don't mind?
I'd be happy to help any way I can.
Great.
All right,
Good.
thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just lost it. Okay. So we'll move on to update on joint committee to procure EMS services. Do one of you, Jimmy or Sheila, want to talk about that?
There wasn't a whole lot that happened. We had hoped that any, questions that the potential responders had would be in by then, but there weren't any questions that hadn't already been addressed. And the only thing I think that we needed to provide from our end was the audited financial statements.
I sent that.
You got that, okay.
Okay.
So that's nothing of significance there. The assistant chief attended, assistant fire chief attended, and provided input about where the fire department is, where they're at and what their concerns are right now. And they also attended last night's meeting, so they've been able to weigh in and present their concerns, the biggest of which is, what happens January 1, will they have access? So, and I believe based on our collective meetings, we're working on it.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
We're definitely working on it. That's
Yeah.
something that
Yep,
we will,
we'll
We
keep
will-
people apprised.
yeah, we will keep apprised to it, and we will also be working very hard to find a solution in the very near future.
Yep.
So we appreciate you coming to all those meetings and giving us your input.
Thank you.
So that's really all I have.
So what's the date that they have to submit their proposals?
August 31st.
Okay.
And then we will be reviewing them the following week with Cambridge.
Mhm.
Did anyone have any other questions about that, or? Okay, great. We will keep everyone updated on how things are going with that. All right. So we'll move on to discussion and possible action on appointing myself, Laura Payne, to the Plan Committee. So Ted was on the Planning Committee, so I would just, there's an empty seat on that, so I just wanted to take that over for him.
I'll make a motion to appoint Laura Payne to the planning committee.
I second it.
All in favor of appointing me to the Planning Commission, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, so we'll move on to discussion and possible action on hiring a new police chief. So our police chief, Jerry, has given a promotion. He is now the undersheriff at the county sheriff's department. We have a new sheriff that was appointed. Paul Milbrath has stepped down, and the governor's appointed Travis Mays as the sheriff, and then he had asked Jerry to become the undersheriff. So he's going to be doing that, but fortunately for us, he will be staying for the interim just to have a smooth transition. Bless you.
Excuse me.
So we, at this time, need to decide how we're going to move forward. We had gone into closed session bless you.
Excuse me, allergies.
Last
Sorry.
week, so everybody knows, we had done that and talked about how we were going to move forward. So can we just say what we've done last? So we decided that we were just going to, in the interim, have a limited time employee for a lieutenant and see how that goes. And after, right now, an undetermined time, maybe a couple of months, see how that's going, and then we will hire a new police chief, and we'll go through the process again. But we will go through the process of having a temporary lieutenant. So we were all, except for one person, was there. We'll be meeting closed session tonight. So
And that's just to, because Jerry's hours are cut down.
Yes.
So the lieutenant would pick up a lot of the chief's
right.
jobs.
And so he'll just be mentoring the lieutenant and just kind of passing the torch so that we have a smooth transition. We're not going to be just left and not know what's happening here. So he'll be available. He will be cutting down his time, but he will be working with the lieutenant. I don't think there's any action we need to take at this time. Do you have any
We're
other?
going to talk about it in closed
Yeah,
session.
we're going to be talking about it in closed section. Any other questions at this time? Okay. All right, we'll be talking about that further. We'll move on to number 11, discussion and possible action on ordinance 2024-3, virtual remote meeting attendance. You did receive a copy of the proposed ordinance for review. I think at this time, I'd like to table it and not make any action tonight, but just let everybody take a look at this, let it sink in. It's a big deal to go to virtual. There's a lot of technical aspects to this that we want to make sure that we can handle prior to having virtual meetings, if we decide to go that route. So I would like to make a motion to just table it and have a review and come back to it at a later date.
Yeah, if you want to table it, we probably don't need a motion. If you just want to table it, then
We-
we're fine.
We can make a move,
Okay.
motion to table.
I'll make a motion to table it for now.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any further
I just have a question.
Sure.
In court, there's many times, especially with some of the OWI cases, they want to have an expert witness appear virtually so that they don't have to travel from Madison to come in, and we have not been able to accommodate that. So I don't know what your ordinance looks like, but perhaps I should be involved in the discussion so that it might either encompass that or not.
Okay.
For the court services.
I think that's a really good idea, Virginia. So can you please get a copy to Virginia and then look?
I certainly can.
Yeah, and then just look it over and see how we would need to revise it to accommodate that. And then that was part of it too. We need to look at it and make sure that we have everything covered. And then we'll just bring it back at a later date.
Especially closed session.
Right, in closed session, we have to really discuss how this would work
And then we
with
need,
remote.
and then we need a vote.
Yes. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of tabling this for now? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. So we'll revisit this. Okay, we'll move on to number 12, discussion and possible action on purchase of election equipment using ARPA funds.
There in your packet, I have some documents that would help explain what I'm asking for. At the last week's partisan primary election, we had almost 45% of our residents voted. We had over 1,000 ballots. In November, we believe that we'll have twice as many ballots in that same amount of time. So what I am recommending at the request of our chief inspectors and our regular election inspectors is to purchase another electronic poll book. The estimate for that is in your packet, and it is $2,011. It would work with our existing equipment, and that would just make our election workers much more efficient because we could process absentee ballots on a machine dedicated to just absentee ballots, and then people who are voting at the polls can use the other poll books.
Oh, okay.
It would just make our process much more efficient. And then the other thing that our election inspectors requested is to have temporary voting booths. A lot of times during the day, on election day, there is a line. And to facilitate the traffic a little bit better, they are asking to purchase a temporary or a movable voting booth that we can just set up in the corner and make it so that more people can vote at one time. And that,
Just one?
well, the cost of that, the one that we're looking at is $329. And then on the ARPA expenditure sheet, we started the year on January 1 with $109,242.80. We've spent $65,431 on previously approved purchases. And then we have used some of our ARPA money to pay attorney's fees. So the remainder of our ARPA funds is about $14,875. So the voting booths and the additional electronic poll book would be covered with that $14,000.
So we have a handicap. 1, 2.
We do have an express vote and that a countertop in the corner there does accommodate handicap. The Elections Commission has been out and toured, audited our polling place, and they have approved that handicap spot.
Okay.
Good question, though.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of the portable voting booth as well as, what's the second one?
The electronic poll book.
Electronic book, second electronic polling book.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? No? I think it's a very good idea that we have that.
Yeah. I second it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, we're good.
we're good.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, I knew you said.
Oh,
Sorry.
I didn't know if you heard me.
Yeah. No, I think it's just a good idea that we do that. Any further discussion? Then all in favor of purchasing?
Roll call?
Say that again?
Do we have to do a roll call or just?
No,
No.
just a motion.
No, just a motion. No regular. All in favor of purchasing the voting booth and the electronic
Poll book.
book, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Great. So you could just order that as right
Yes.
away?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Do we want to move up approval of disbursements before we go into closed session?
We can.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Okay, so let's move on to that then. We'll move up. Number 17, approval of disbursements.
The disbursements were not in your packet, they were on the table.
I'll make a motion that we approve disbursements beginning with check number 530 through and including electronic funds transfer July 9th in the amount of $3,141, and the aggregate amount of $594,877.24.
I'll second.
Okay, any questions, comments? Okay. All in favor of approving the disbursements as shown here, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion approved. Okay, so now we are going to go back to agenda number 13, closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute Section 19.85(1)(c), considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility over.
I'll second.
Okay, you need a roll call vote?
I do need a roll call. Okay. Sheila?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Jimmy?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to be going into closed session, and we stay here and they leave?
We leave.
We leave. So we'll be leaving if anyone wants to stick around until